It is 17 hours GMT. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Starr today here on Starr 103.5 FM. And coming up tonight,
Health Minister Mensah Kanda reveals 6 over-the-counter medicine sellers in the Ahafo region are facing prosecution for the illegal sale of tramadol and opioids as he outlined measures to arrest the influx of fake drugs onto the Ghanaian markets.
6 over-the-counter medicine sellers in the Ahafo region are being prosecuted for the illegal sale and distribution of tramadol and other opioids.
We'll have a conversation on that this evening. Also, closure of 7 radio stations sends MPs into a frenzy as minority describe the sector minister as a dictator.
Mr. Speaker, it looks like we have an Idi Amin in the making. This house will not watch for an Idi Amin to emerge at the Ministry of Communication. And we are sending the signal to the Minister for Communications to relax. The exuberance is getting.
But the majority says stations operating without authorization will be shut down today, tomorrow, and forever.
The minister will shut down the stations today. Tomorrow he will shut them down. Tomorrow next he will shut them down. If they want, they should go for authorization. He will shut them down. They should go for authorization.
And still in the bulletin this evening, former presidential advisor on health, Dr. Anthony Nsiansare, refutes claim by President Mahama that the government will require $1.7 billion to complete the Agenda 111 project.
Also ahead in this broadcast, President Mahama once again paints gloomy picture of the country's financial sector, saying it is in dire crisis as he calls for prudent measures to achieve stability.
Ghana's financial sector is in crisis, and the task ahead demands experience, foresight, and decisive leadership. With Dr. Efia heading the Bank of Ghana, I am confident that we will rebuild trust in the institution, will restore stability, and put our economy back on a path of sustained growth.
We have more for you on that, plus the admonishment of President Mahama to the new Bank of Ghana governors.
To safeguard our economy from these risks, we must uphold responsible fiscal management, strict adherence to legal and regulatory framework, and protect the independence of the Bank of Ghana. As President, I'm committed to ensuring that the central bank operates free from political interference, guided solely by its mandate.
Meanwhile, the governor of the central bank has outlined measures to tackle the country's high inflation.
We shall pursue reforms in the inflation targeting framework, and this is meant to foster more transparency and enhance the effectiveness of monetary policy implementation. We shall discontinue the use of differentiated cash reserve requirements and instead rely on open market operations, or what we call OMOs, to manage liquidity conditions.
And later in the bulletin, we'll tell you the sad story of how a 5-year-old girl has been denied access to school due to leprosy stigma.
I want to go to school.
Because they looked at her fingers, they suspected that she had leprosy. And that's the reason why they asked her to stay home.
I brought the girl up beside me and I said, this girl is going to suffer. Not knowing that a week later, the suffering started. It's not fair. It's discrimination. Discrimination.
Well, we've got details of these stories and more in the bulletin, which is live from our studios here at the Platinum Place, Northridge. Would also take you live to Parliament, where the vetting committee is currently vetting the Deputy Minister Designate for Food and Agriculture, John Seto Dumelo. And I will bring you more on that also in the bulletin. Stick and stay with us.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Cool 103.5 FM in Ho, Ridge and Might FM in Tamale, Somali FM in Wa, My Star Radio in the USA. Also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM.
Grateful for your company this evening and welcome aboard Ghana's most comprehensive news analysis program, Starr, today here on Starr 103.5 FM, simply the best. Tonight, as always, we're streaming live on Facebook, so do join us with your thoughts, your comments, your views and contributions to the stories we'll tackle tonight. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah, and I'm doing this with...
I am Tutuwaa Danso. Now, starting the bulletin, we cross over to Parliament where the vetting of the Deputy Minister Designate for Agriculture, John Seto Dumelo, is underway. Let's take you live to Parliament. We'll return shortly.
Because in your educational background, you didn't list it at all. But in your leadership, you said KNUST, civil engineering student, assistant. You said organizing secretary, civil engineering student, 205 to 206. Then you also said Queen's Hall Planning Committee, 204 to 205. So I just wanted to understand why you were saying KNUST leadership, yet it doesn't have any space in your educational background.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I've had a passion for acting and farming for a very long time. And so in my fourth year of KNUST or civil engineering, I had one more paper to write, which I didn't go back to write that paper, and I followed my passion of farming and acting. Hence, that's why I didn't write it in my CV.
Okay, hold on. So, where did you leave school in your final year?
I left after my final year.
Oh, so you did the 4-year civil engineering?
Yes, please.
But you had a paper to write?
Yes, please.
Which you did not write?
Yes, please.
Oh, I see. Then you left to follow your passion?
Yes, please.
For acting?
Yes, please.
Okay, then yours is better than mine.
Please, I don't know about yours, sir.
Also, I'm ready to share.
Yes, please.
Because I did become level 300, I abandoned UCC, and I went to do law because I didn't like accounting, and I was struggling. So I left, and I went to follow my passion of doing law.
Thank you.
So I don't have it in my CV too.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so that's what you did.
Yes, please.
But it's not too late to go and do that one paper to have your degree in civil engineering.
Oh, right now I have 3 other degrees, so I'm okay.
I see.
Yes, please.
It may help. You may try.
Thank you, Mr.
It's just a paper.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, you have also indicated that your second business, you supply building materials and produce ice for fresh fishmongers. So the ice, have you done a factory to produce the ice?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, please.
Where is that located, please?
Mr. Chairman, it's in East Legon.
Okay. Is it at where you live?
Next door.
Next door?
Yes, please.
I see. And you've been paying your taxes for KSD Ventures?
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
So with the leave of the chair, you'll be able to furnish us with taxes paid from 2014 to date, correct?
Correct, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. You can also furnish us with your taxes paid for Mellow Foods from 2015 to date, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Now, you have stated your name as John Matthew Kofi Seto Dumelo. Is that what you have on your certificate?
Mr. Chairman, on my certificate, I have John Kofi Seto Dumelo.
No Matthew?
On my certificates, no.
On your date of birth, do you have John Matthew Kofi Seto Dumelo?
No, Mr. Chairman.
On your passport, do you have John Matthew Kofi Seto Dumelo?
No, Mr. Chairman.
On your Ghana card, do you have John Matthew Kofi Seto Dumelo?
No, Mr. Chairman.
What name did you register with the Electoral Commission?
John Kofi Seto Dumelo.
So, in the Gazette and the subsequent communication to Parliament, the name there is what?
John Kofi Seto Dumelo.
Now, the letter communicating your nomination to Parliament, have you had the opportunity to see it?
I have, but I didn't pay attention to the name.
Okay. Does it have Matthew?
I may not recall, Mr. Chairman.
It doesn't. Would you want to take the leave of chair to amend the records? Because you are now going into public office and you don't want unnecessary controversy. This is Ghana. People can be petty. They can get at you on anything. You are now being ushered into this new life where anything goes. So would you want to change it?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable nominee, I grant you the leave to do so, to put your official name in the right order and revert it back to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable nominee, I've been an entrepreneur for the better part of my life. I've had some good experiences. I'm concerned about something and I want to ask you. You've started a nice business, sole proprietor, young man, 1984. You are not yet 40, are you?
Mr. Chairman, I'm 41.
41, very well. You're at your prime age. Okay. And you are doing well. Going into public service, how do you expect this business to survive? Sole proprietorship.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I've handed all the operations to a new person who is now going to run it henceforth. Thank you.
Honorable nominee, wouldn't you prefer to drop this offer from Mr. President so you maintain your seat as an MP and build capacity in the private sector? Because from sole proprietorship, you're likely to grow and make it a limited liability company. With the promises in your party's manifesto for agriculture, you can tap into it and expand your business and employ more. Don't you think that is a better option? Then later on in life, you come into public service, the executive arm of public service. What do you think?
I disagree with you, Mr. Chairman.
Basis of your disagreement?
Mr. Chairman, because it's always a privilege to be called upon by the President of the Republic of Ghana to serve in a capacity. And in this capacity is the Deputy Agric Minister designate. And I want to do that and do that diligently. Thank you.
What do you bring on board? What do you bring on board? Because you are going to meet an astute politician, very knowledgeable, and in fact, if you check Hansard, this is a man to be feared. He argues with facts, and he's not a man to dilly-dally with. To complement him, you must definitely have something on board. What do you bring on board? The country would want to know.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Already I fear him.
But I'm happy you don't fear me.
If you asked about you, I would have answered whether I fear you or not. So
no, I don't want you to ask about me. You go ahead and answer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know he's very knowledgeable. I've been listening to him. I've been studying him. And this is a great opportunity to learn under him. Him being an astute politician and a great farmer and somebody who is very knowledgeable in agriculture. I think this is the best opportunity for me to also learn under him and follow that same path. Thank you, sir.
So now, you know your region OT. How many of you have been nominated for this ministerial, deputy ministerial thing so far?
Mr. Chairman, so far, just one person, Honorable Kofi Adams.
Your home region OT?
Yes, please.
Oh, so you are a Greater Accra MP. So your nomination fills the Greater Accra space. At the same time, it also fills the OT card. So you are from Greater Accra and OT, correct?
Well, yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Chairman, and also Central Region and Ashanti Region.
Okay. John, it looks like you have some presidential ambition.
Oh,
yes, because the way, because there's going to be vacancy. No, it's a privilege to serve your nation. Don't run away from it. No. Don't run away. You are an actor, a businessman, an MP. Come 2028, there will be vacancy. President Mahama is not contesting again. The field will be open. You are from OT, Greater Accra, Central, and Ashanti. Masa, you speak French. You speak Twi. Oh, you qualify. You are 41. You overqualified. In fact, you will be 44 in your prime age. Wouldn't you consider it?
Yes. Mr. Chairman, there are so many seniors ahead of me.
Okay, so not now.
Mr. Chairman, if it's the will of God,
yeah, all right.
Everyone who enters politics aspires to obviously get to the top. If it's the will of God for me to get to the top in 2058 or 2064, I will wait.
2058, you'll be. How old would you be in 2058?
Very old.
Because we are hearing Asedun Katia, Julius Debra, Eriko Poku. We are hearing Eriko Poku, Julius Debra, Asedun Katia, Asedun Fabako, Asedun Katia Fabako, Julius Debra Fabako, Eriko Poku also Fabako.
Leader.
So we just want to be sure.
Leader.
So we can now say John Dumelo also Fabako.
Leader.
Mr. Chairman, I also heard your name.
Don't go there. I'm not on.
Okay, sir.
I'm not on.
Honorable nominee, just one second, leader.
All right. So, John,
I haven't said it. I was just about. You are leading the nominee into a very dangerous territory.
He has to leave long.
And the Fabako, leader, with all due respect, you are completely out of order.
Oh, very well, that's all. John, you know, my posture has always been that when I get it wrong, and I know I've gotten it wrong, you shouldn't take anything away from me to say I'm sorry. It would help me to learn. I try to watch some of my videos when we are done with the chamber work in the night. If I don't do it in the night, I do it in the morning to check what I did the previous day. Was I too harsh? Was I too hard on myself? Did I do it right? Get some friends to straighten me up. When we mount the campaign platform, the rallies, we sometimes slip. Do you agree that we sometimes slip?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Let me open you up generally and see how you would recall some of the excesses, if any. Do you recall anything politically you've said that with the benefit of hindsight you say, oh, I shouldn't have said it this way, particularly so against your opponent, the former member of parliament?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I remember.
What have you to tell her?
Mr. Chairman, the words I used, I apologized accordingly the day after.
Okay. But they are not on social media?
Mr. Chairman, it's on social media.
No, I mean your apology as well.
It is, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, well done.
Thank you.
Do you have any regrets coming into mainstream politics vis-a-vis the privacy of your business life?
Mr. Chairman, no, please. I don't have any regrets.
John, how would you want to inspire the youth of Ghana? Particularly so, you coming from the area, your constituency is largely of the academia stock, full of academics, students. What do you hope to inspire them with?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, for me, I want to inspire people to be able to follow their passion, follow what they want to do, and do it well. I'm a man of probably many talents. In the movie industry, I think I did quite well. In the business industry, I think I'm doing quite well. And politics, I'm yet to do well. And so when some people look at me, they might be inspired to follow their dreams and follow their passions and make Ghana a better place.
Have you read your party's policy on food and agriculture? Be honest about it.
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
You've read it?
Yes, please.
What's the policy on food and agriculture?
Well, our policy on food and agriculture is simple. It's to just create food sufficiency for Ghana. It's to feed the industry and feed ourselves.
Through which methodology, modeling strategy? How do you hope to achieve that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With the feed ourselves, we hope to produce more. We hope to reduce post-harvest losses. We hope to feed the industry, and we hope to feed ourselves and export the rest. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, in the process of ensuring food sufficiency, how does this fit into this, your slogan, 24-hour economy?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, Ghana is one country that has just about one farming season. Our policy and our plan is to be able to farm all year round. Now, if you want to farm all year round, that means we would have excess food items available to be able to feed the industry. Now, once we have excess and we are feeding the industry all year round, definitely these industries have to run 24 hours. And so that's how come we'll fit into the 24-hour economy. Thank you, Mr.
So what is the 24-hour economy? What is the 24-hour economy
Mr. Chairman,
of the NDC?
Mr. Chairman,
share with us.
The 24-hour economy is one job, 3 shifts, 3 people. We don't see why Ghana should stop working at 5 o'clock. Ghana should continue working. And so if the industries are being fed 24 hours, definitely we need to employ more people. Definitely we need to move the economy forward. And so that is the 24-hour economy.
Which sectors are you going to focus on?
Sorry,
which sectors of the economy are you going to focus on?
Economy?
Yes.
Almost all sectors, sir.
Okay. No. The nation is listening to you.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So almost all the sectors.
Yes, please.
Oh, I see. Right.
Those that deem it fit to be under the 24-hour economy.
Okay. So there's going to be a modeling program to allow people to fit into it. There's going to be a certain framework, correct?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
When is that framework to be expected? Because you were sworn into office 7 January. Today is 25th of February.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
When should we expect this framework?
Mr. Chairman, the budget is yet to be read, and I'm sure when it's read, the clear guidelines will be outlined there.
So, should we expect a 24-hour economy secretariat at your ministry where companies will be encouraged to register in exchange for some incentives?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If rightly so, if that becomes very necessary, yes, we would have a 24-hour economy secretariat at the Ministry of Food and Agric. Yes, thank you.
Leader.
Okay, go ahead.
Please.
You go ahead. I'm not asking policy questions.
I said earlier and then before, and you are pretty much a smart guy yourself, and you are aware of this. The nominee is here as a deputy minister designate for the minister. He is not a policy maker. So let's stay away. My advice to you, as my brother, as you do advise me, is that let's stay away from policy issues. Thank you very much, leader. Please, you can continue.
Honorable member for Awutu Senya West. The honorable member is on oath. He is on oath. And all convo must cease. So, explain your earlier answer. I didn't get it because there were some few distractions. No, you. It's not possible.
Mr. Chairman, please, to which of the questions?
My last question.
About how it will fit into?
Whether in the modeling,
yes,
the framework, there's going to be a desk or a secretariat at the Ministry of Agriculture for those companies, those entities in that sector to apply and to have some incentives as entities under your 24-hour economy.
Mr. Chairman, in consultation with my boss, if it deems fit, yes, we might set up a desk.
Wait. In consultation with your boss,
yes, please.
You are going to do what? I want to understand, because we are recording you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
It's not enough to be on the rally grounds talking 24-hour economy, 24-hour, to get the youth to vote for you. We are recording, so tell us, 24-hour economy, what in consultation with your minister, tell us what you are going to do.
Mr. Chairman,
yes,
in consultation with my boss, if he so pleases the ministry, we will set up a desk. If it
doesn't please the ministry,
if it becomes necessary,
we should forget about. If it doesn't become necessary, we should forget about the 24-hour economy upon which you mounted your campaign and won the 2024 elections. Correct?
Correct. If it becomes necessary, sir.
Well, so you just had the excerpts of the vetting of John Matthew. Today we found out his Matthew.
Matthews.
Seto Kofi.
Kofi Dumelo.
Yes. Excerpts of his veteran there. And that brings us to what? 5:31. Some 31 minutes after 5 p.m. here in Accra. We'll be getting back there shortly. But let's do some of the stories that we have on the lineup today. And Minister of Health, Mensah Kando, says so far about six over-the-counter medicine sellers are currently standing trial in the Ahafo region for illegal sale of tramadol and other opioids in the country. He disclosed this on the floor of Parliament following a disturbing expose by the BBC on an international syndicate involved in importation of unlicensed and illegal, highly addictive opioids said to be negatively affecting Ghana's teen and youth. Reacting to the development in Parliament, Health Minister Mensah Kando said efforts have been ramped up to deal with the menace. Listen to him.
Several shipments of unregistered opioids were intercepted at our borders over recent years, preventing their entry into the market. Market surveillance and regulatory enforcement. Regular inspections of pharmacies and over-the-counter medicine sellers were conducted, leading to removal of unauthorized opioids products. Prosecution of offenders. Currently, 6 over-the-counter medicine sellers in the Ahafo region are being prosecuted for the illegal sale and distribution of tramadol and other opioids. In addition to the above actions, Mr. Speaker, in recent years, we have had major seizures and disposal of illicit opioids. Despite these efforts, Mr. Speaker, it is clear that these actions have not been sufficient to prevent illicit opioids from entering the country through illegal channels. Mr. Speaker, I will now highlight some of the actions that the health sector has taken in response to the crisis, especially in the past few days following the BBC Africa Eye investigation. Following the revelations of the BBC Eye findings on Avio Pharmaceuticals and Western International involvement in illegal opioid distribution, the Ministry of Health, in collaboration with the regulatory and security agencies, took immediate and decisive action. The FDA has directed Samos Pharma to immediately cease using these companies as exporters of registered products to Ghana. Additionally, FDA has suspended the processing of Masters Pharmaceutical Limited application, which uses Avio Pharmaceutica as contract manufacturer. Tighter border inspections and enforcement. A joint task force involving the FDA, the Narcotic Control Commission, Customs, and the Ghana Revenue Authority has intensified checks at major entry points to prevent further unauthorized imports, leading to destruction of a large consignment of tafradol and similar drugs. Increased monitoring of over-the-counter drug sales. Inspections have been intensified, unauthorized opioids seized, and legal action taken against offenders. Public awareness and consumer protection measures. A national education campaign has been launched to warn the public about the dangers of illicit opioid use and encourage responsible medication practices. Next steps, strengthening regulatory oversight and enforcement. Mr. Speaker, while these immediate actions have helped to contain the situation, more needs to be done to permanently shut down the supply of illicit opioids into Ghana. We have noted the following challenges that impede the effective response, which requires urgent attention. Unmanned borders allow for the illegal movement of opioids into Ghana. Limited inspection capacity for transit goods destined to other countries enables unregistered drugs to leak into the Ghanaian market. Intelligence sharing. Intelligence sharing mechanism between the FDA, Customs, and NACOC needed to improve enforcement outcomes are suboptimal. Mr. Speaker, the Ministry of Health will therefore collaborate with the relevant bodies on the following initiatives: strengthening market surveillance and compliance monitoring, strengthening import controls and licensing, enhancing law enforcement and interagency collaboration, strengthening international cooperation, need for interagency response.
So you heard there, the Health Minister Kwabena Mintah in Parliament today. Kwale-Klote MP Zaneto Ajiman Rawlins on her part called for re-engagement and strengthening of collaborations with international agencies to nip the challenge in the bud, highlighting the challenges of opioid abuse in her constituency in particular. Listen to her.
In my constituency, we have a cluster of schools, the Niamugi cluster of schools, where people who are addicted to drugs have actually invaded the premises, where they harass children, they harass the teachers, and recently, in the last 3 weeks, one of the security personnel in the school was attacked by a gang of drug addicts and is now in 37 military hospital in a coma. Mr. Speaker, the ramifications of this illicit drug inflow into Ghana goes beyond the large scale, but it's affecting people's lives. It's affecting the security in our schools. It's affecting the security of our ordinary citizens. And Mr. Speaker, the law enforcement agencies responsible for this need to be strengthened. We had up until a few weeks ago collaboration between the U.S. government, specifically the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, with the government of Ghana in helping to combat some of this transnational crime and illicit drug use. Since the suspension of this, Mr. Speaker, I believe that may have contributed to what we are seeing. We need to re-engage some of these international agencies and strengthening our capacity to monitor what's going on in our borders and ensure that when we actually do track down these criminals, the prosecution of them and effective implementation of our regulations is actually done in order to be a disincentive for those who wish to use Ghana as a transit point. Our youth are really increasingly becoming a target of all of this. And Mr. Speaker, this is a national security issue because it affects our country in so many ways. It's affecting so many sectors, and it will probably require a whole, multidimensional approach in order to actually effectively deal with this issue. Mr. Speaker, this matter is something that's affecting a lot of communities. My constituency has a very high level of addiction, has a lot of young people who are addicted to drugs, and unfortunately this is an issue that has been swept under the rug for too long. And it is my prayer that given the expose that has happened, the global embarrassment that we see now, we will take this issue very seriously, the issue of addiction and mental health and how we address the way drugs are used in this country.
Well, still on the issue of opioids, a medical doctor and MP for Lambushi, Professor Titus Bayo, while exposing how addiction to opioids occur, laid the blame at the doorstep of regulatory agencies.
Opioids are good servants, but bad masters. They are drugs used to manage moderate to very severe pain, and they are therefore very useful in the health system. However, if unregulated, they can be very devastating. These drugs, when consumed, work on the brain and bring what we call euphoria, which is what they will call in lay term the high. And therefore, they also exhibit something we call pharmacologic tolerance, which is that with subsequent consumption, you need to take higher doses to have the same effect. So the youth who engage in these drugs easily get addicted and have to take higher doses to get the same effect than before. And they are causing a lot of damage to our youth. The issue raised by the BBCI investigation, in my view, smacks of deliberate poisoning because these drugs were not made for any medical purpose. They have never been used anywhere. And the combination is a terrible combination of a potent maxillary relaxant and a very addictive opioid. And when you take these two combined in one formulation, it is unacceptable. So I want to commend the ministry for what they are doing. And for us as a people, our biggest concern is that addiction will have a serious drain on us. Addictions are better prevented than managed. As a country, public rehabilitation centers are not more than 3. We have very few rehabilitation centers. And the outcomes of rehabilitation, especially of drug addiction, is also not very promising. For every 10 patients who go to rehabilitation, just 3 to 5 may successfully get out of it. Relapse is very high. So for those who get hooked onto it, getting out becomes a serious challenge. I would therefore want to commend the ministry, but ask that serious intersectoral collaboration is needed. This is as a result of pure regulatory failure. This House has passed several laws, including the Narcotics Control Commission, their act, the FDA Act, and all these empower state agencies, the Ghana Police Service, Pharmacy Council. But what is happening is that it looks like almost all these agencies have failed us in one way or the other. And so I would urge the minister that as they are going through the administrative processes, we should also ensure that the criminal processes are followed. Because if you bring an unregistered drug into the country, it's a crime. And those who commit that crime must be punished.
So that's Dr. or Professor Titus Bayo, Majority Whip and MP for Nsawam Adwejiri. Frank Anodompre also urged the agencies responsible to step up their monitoring mechanisms to be on top of the situation.
The ministers. And earlier when he was in the House to make a statement on cholera and meningitis. And I know he's been very busy lately. I think professionals have spoken. I've heard Doc spoke, Honorable, we've all spoken. One thing that is clear is that we have to step up our monitoring. Our monitoring mechanisms have to be stepped up. And not limited to this drug alone. There are other concerns similar. And so we should be able to pick these signals well ahead of time. So that, for me, that is the trust of the matter. And if we are able to do that, we'll be able to have good control. So we want to encourage our minister. I know he's passionate and very dedicated to duty. They have to push forward and make sure we step up our monitoring mechanisms. I couldn't have agreed more with my senior colleague when he mentioned our borders. What we can do to step up our borders, and also awareness creation for citizens who are manning our borders should know what we are talking about. What are these drugs or category of drugs, so that even they can identify them when they see them, if they're not carried along. So we will want to, I know the budget is now coming, but this is an emergency matter, an emergency. Speaker, we have to employ on the exchequer, who is also one of our own, the Honorable to force him. We will have to release some liquidity. I see my minister is distressed. Honorable Akando is distressed. He needs liquidity. He must be giving some liquidity. We are charging on him, I should say it, I will say it. We are charging on him to do more, to carry all the stakeholders along. He needs the liquidity. So the exchequer must be directed. Speaker, if you bear with me, I'll plead your consequential directives. The exchequer should be directed to release some funding. I know the previous government left some good funding. Should be giving some funding for him to hit the road running. Should hit the road and hit the grounds. Because this is a serious matter. And I hope that the health minister will be strengthened enough in all fours, so that he will be strong enough to hit the road to ensure that we bring a good control of this matter.
So that's Frank Anodompre. He's the Member of Parliament for Nsawam Adwejiri. He's also the Majority Chief Whip. The minority, Tutuwaa, forgive. I mean, it will take some getting used to, but we'll get there. And so we'll get to speak to him shortly. But then one interesting bit is that now a lot of people are talking about the power situation. And Tutuwaa and Danso, man, do you always have your lights on?
Look, I was so disappointed when the power crisis reached my hood, because I have always bragged that...
which power crisis? Because people say that we don't have any crisis.
Please, then mine is a special case. It's a crisis. I mean, they put our lives,
Right.
and it's really incessant. It's
Okay.
very uncomfortable because we pretend to know what is going on. But I'll just leave that to the experts.
Very well. But you know that in terms of appointments, President Mahama has made some appointments. And those appointments have also raised eyebrows. Some people are very discontent. And so...
before you go into details, just last week, we saw what happened with Clock Sack.
Yes.
threatening to go on a nationwide strike because they disagree.
In fact, they are currently on strike because they did not want the register of death and birth.
Exactly.
So, and I remember speaking also to Dr. Frederick Kodjo. He mentions one thing. You party people have no control over who the president decides to appoint. You have chosen the president and you support the president, so you must support his choices.
And trust his decisions.
Well, so we know that President Mahama's appointment of Engineer Edward Obin Kenzo as acting chief executive of the Volta River Authority on February 5 has split public opinion, with some persons against the move. Engineer Kenzo, who was prior to his appointment the deputy chief executive of VRA in charge of engineering and operations, stands accused among others of not being a true member of the NDC. Now, this sparked some controversy with a section of some disgruntled party people hinting of a possible demonstration against the appointment. This was, however, fiercely resisted by a group of staff calling themselves the concerned staff of VRA, who maintained that Engineer Kenzo has the right expertise to steer the affairs of the authority in the right direction. And so joining us in studio to help us address these issues as well as issues in the power and energy sector is Benjamin Mensah, Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy. Benjamin, welcome.
Thank you.
I hope you're doing well.
I am.
Would you say that we have power crisis? Because Tutuwaa has her lights going off. As for me, where I am, we don't get light outs.
We've always had this crisis. But I think it depends on the spread of it,
right?
The deep issues with respect to those who are affected, and also the duration of it. I think when you defined Danso in our local language, as we normally call it, I think that we want to look at it from the generational point of view, where we are unable to generate enough to serve the demand that may come. So in this case, we may be in a form of Danso because of the generational shortfall.
Right.
But it also has to do with other definitions with respect to the duration and also the spread of this particular Danso across.
So it's a power crisis then, no?
We have always been in a crisis because localized faults have always been with us. Even in 2024, there was a localized fault where the then government refused to admit
that one was Dumsiesi.
Refused to admit that there was a Danso, but they've made us known that the new definition for Danso is a generational shortfall that takes a lot of megawatts or generation in terms of gigawatts out of the supply and making it in such a way that the demand outweighs the supply for a longer period of time and also spread across a particular geographical area. So we are in a crisis and we have always been in it.
Interesting. Now, in looking at this, you mentioned generational challenges, capacities, and all of that. And people have said that it's also as a result of the leadership we have for the various agencies in terms of the energy ministers that we've had, the people running the power distributing company, ECG, people also running the production areas, VRA, among others. Do you think leadership has been a challenge for us over the years?
I think that leadership is very key in terms of resolving the many and daunting challenges in the power sector. And that leadership also has to do with what we call sustainable leadership, looking at the person who is interested in the people who work within these companies and also outside these companies, a person who is interested in making profit for the company, because all the companies in the power sector, except one or two, are in financial crisis. And also in terms of system, there are huge system losses in the industry. So we need someone who's also interested in the profitability of this particular company. And also we are in an era of environmental sustainability.
Right.
So we also need someone who also thinks about the environment, whether the organizational structure and also outside the organization. So I think that leadership is key, and that is why I think that looking at the appointments that the president has done, especially in the energy sector, president has appointed persons who have institutional knowledge, who have worked professionally in the sector, and who have had certain academic knowledge of the sector. And I think that is something that we must commend the president for, because if we take, for example, Tema Oil Refinery, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana has been a contributor, a commentator in the energy.
He's been on this platform
several
times. Exactly.
If you take Edward Bauer, has been a spokesperson for the Ministry of Energy, became an MP, became a member of the Mines and Energy Committee, read a lot of energy reports in that particular at that particular level. So he has a lot of knowledge with respect to petroleum downstream and how he could contribute to make sure that GOIL becomes the entity that we all want it to become. If you take PRC, which is also under the presidency, but still has something to do with energy, Ishak has also contributed immensely with respect to the energy sector, especially the sustainability bit of it. So that experience is there. The gentleman who was appointed to GMPC has been a strategic person in terms of getting us investment in upstream petroleum. So he has that knowledge there. So I think that looking at the energy sector carefully, anyone appointed by the president, because the president has seen that most of the state-owned entities in that sector are not doing well financially, that is why the president has brought in people with that expertise to come and then contribute and make sure that these entities become very profitable and also serve the interests of the Ghanaian and also the nation.
And looking at VRA specifically, I mean, Engineer Kenzo, for instance, he used to be deputy CEO.
CEO for VRA.
And then President Mahama says, well, he should take up the position of substantive CEO, but that has been met with some disagreements. Do you think that looking at the person of Engineer Kenzo and for the position as CEO of VRA, that was a misfiring by President Mahama? Because the people believe that President Mahama could have done better.
I don't see so. I see a different position with respect to what others are making. And I must also say, who are these people? Because if you look at Kenzo well and my profile, I have not met him personally, but profiling him, I think that his workers love him because I've seen most of the workers he has worked with over the years supporting his bid to become the VRA MD or the CEO. I've seen concerned workers, I've seen ladies who work for VRA, I've seen Public Sector Workers Union commend his appointment and even congratulate him. So it means that I think with respect to being a leader in terms of having led teams from the operational level of VRA through the middle level to the higher level, in that pyramid shape, I think he's contributed in each level. So those he's worked with think that he'll be the best or he's the best person for the job. And aside that, those he's not worked with, and he's worked with from the operational level to the higher level, so he has seen it all. Aside that, I think the industry has also supported him. I've read quite a number of articles where some industry persons also support his bid, thinking that he'll be the right person to change the narrative with respect to VRA. And looking at him carefully with respect to his CV and profiling, he's a person who has worked at the thermal side before. He's worked at the hydro side before. He has an environmental background. So that means that I think he has it all in one.
Especially when this government is also looking at green transitions, green energy and all that.
Yes, and even VRA as a unit of generator has all these departments. VRA has hydro, which is the traditional renewal we know, but also has solar, 22 megawatts of power for solar in Kalio and Navrango and other parts of the country. They also have thermal. This gentleman has worked at Tema plants or the Tema enclave. He has worked at Pung Tema plants. So, and even Takrady. So I think that he has that experience to contribute to making sure that VRA rather becomes one of the best power generators in Ghana, and also making sure that VRA becomes very profitable in contributing to the dividends of that particular sector.
And looking at VRA as an entity, as it stands now, what would you say should be the focus? Because you talk about the fact that looking at our energy mix, VRA, yes, has thermal, has solar in some instances, and then, of course, what we do know, the hydro. So where would you think that the focus should be, looking at our transitions and also looking at the fact that we need to have sustainability in all our operations?
So I think if you look at the energy sector carefully, VRA cannot begin certain power purchase agreements or begin to generate without having directive from the Ministry of Energy. And I think that building renewable energy within our energy mix must be very gradual and systematic, because already we have excess in terms of generation. So the moment you begin to introduce new renewable in higher quantities, what it means is that the excess will go beyond the band of maybe 20 to 35%. So it should be very gradual. And I think that being the leader with experience in hydro, which is a traditional renewable, thermal, and also solar, he could contribute, right, to informing, because that is critical. Because the reason why we are talking about Danso in the first quarter of 2025 is because we didn't plan. And even we didn't plan. But if you have someone who has seen it all, has risen through the ranks to become an MD, he has a lot of information to share.
Right.
And he has a lot of experience to share. And also, he has a lot of certain teamwork to bring to bear to make sure that the generation that we are going to add will be very gradual in such a way that it doesn't affect us as a country. That's why I think that with respect to generation, the solar side, if he is left there, he will contribute for us in terms of policy, in terms of getting us the right megawatts of generation in each year, each maybe 10, 4 years or 5 years, so that at the end of the day, we don't get a lot of excess. Because as we're speaking, if you look at our installed, it's more than what we need. It's 40% more than what we need. But if you come to dependable energy, we are doing around 13 to maybe 28%, which is less than the margin or reserve margin that as a country should have.
Now, looking at the country as a whole, I mean, one thing that nobody wants is Danso.
Yeah.
And I believe that Tutuwaa doesn't want to see any shade of that whatsoever, because when it happens that way, she can't sleep at night.
Yeah.
And so the CEOs that have been appointed
Yeah.
in the energy sector, what should be the way forward for them? What should be the concentration for them, so that they would be able to, one, move in line with the vision of the government, and also to ensure that we do not return to the days of Danso?
So first of all, I think that their workers or employees must support them, because there are a lot of challenges in the energy sector. One is redundant employment. There are too many people performing similar functions. So if you want to cut down cost, one area you should look at is maybe retrenching. But sometimes Ghana is difficult to retrench, looking at the way we do our politics. But if it's not going to retrench, or if any of them is not going to retrench, what I think the workers should do is to support their vision. And their vision must also be in line with the vision of the ministry as well as the vision of the president. So all the sector CEOs and their workers, they must ensure that there are certain KPIs, and the KPIs are that Ghanaians don't want to experience any outage, whether we call it Danso, whether we call it DUCSA. Ghanaians don't want to experience that. And if Ghanaians don't want to experience that, if it is going to be the power distribution chain, that means that NETCO and ECG must work assiduously to ensure that revenues are mobilized to pay generators. And if it is going to be the issue of maybe certain microeconomic indicators that also affect the pricing or the tariff, also affecting the profitability of these entities, then it also means that the Bank of Ghana must also work assiduously to ensure that the city becomes stable. Because one of the reasons why we are recording a lot of liabilities and a lot of debt in the power sector is because of the depreciation of the currency. Because anytime the city depreciates, it affects the ability to mobilize a lot of revenue to pay these generators, because these generators are paid in dollars. So each player or each service provider in the supply chain or value chain must ensure that they do their work well, and anything they must do must be in line with the vision of the ministry and also the vision of the president, so that at the end of the day, the Danso doesn't come and we are all free.
Fantastic. Benjamin, thank you so much.
Thank you
for your time this evening. That's the Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, Benjamin Mensah, speaking to us about the power sector and matters arising. And so John Dumelo is still at the Appointments Committee, and currently we see the Speaker or the Chairman of the committee there in the person of Kweku Hagen, now acting chairman for today. My parliamentary affairs correspondent wanted to Jew me on that, acting chairman. So let's cross over to Parliament. Let's bring you excerpts of that particular vetting.
For the last 8 years. I will add this so I don't make it two separate questions. Now, you move away from inflation, which is to do with the economy, into growth, which is also to do with the economy. You will also realize that the growth of Ghana's economy, if you break it down, the food inflation has been declining for the last 8 years. Even now, that growth is going up. When you look at the curve, the food component of the growth. Chairman, we have had 2 hours to make progress. I'm using 10 minutes to make my progress. So, I just want to find out from you, since we have this serious challenge with inflation in terms of food inflation and with growth in terms of food insecurity, can you assure us that you will support your minister, who I know is very passionate with food inflation, to help us reduce the inflation component that is to do with food, and I mean domestic food, food grown in Ghana, not imported food. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would support my minister to do that. Thank you.
Starr today, first, fast, and credible.
Engage my leader here in a minor negotiation. And nominee, you have given me the assurance. You have, please, my leader interrupted me. So can you give your answer again, if you don't mind?
Yes, please. I've given the assurance together with my boss, the substantive minister.
I don't know whether to call this an ambush or not, but no. I will reluctantly yield. Is Dr. Isaac Yao Opoku here? And Honorable Henry Osei Kodjo is also here. Honorable Frimpong is also here. I just want to make sure.
Honorable Frimpong is not there.
Please, we've been here for quite a while. I just want to make sure we wrap this up. I have granted, what the leader has said. I just wanted to make sure the members that we are talking about are actually here in the room. Okay, I will start with Dr. Isaac Yao Opoku. You have the floor.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Chairman, how many questions am I entitled to? 3.
Yes, 3.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Nominee, congratulations.
Thank you.
My first question, I hope you are familiar with cocoa. My first question, there are disturbing reports that some farmers are giving their cocoa farms out to illegal miners, what we call the galamsey. Apart from the promise that the minister made, the cocoa farmers will be paid 70% of the world market price. Apart from that, what other measures will you put in place to ensure that farmers do not offer their cocoa farms to galamseyers?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I know that the answer that my boss gave was one of the best answers to solve, or one of the best solutions to solve this problem. Giving the cocoa farmers the right price will deter them from selling their cocoa farms. The second one is also to restructure or structure the whole mining industry well, so that wherever they mine, they will not be able to affect these cocoa farms. But I think that the main one is about pricing, and that's what my boss suggested, and that's what the NDC will do. Thank you.
Follow-up question. So when should farmers expect the 70% payment?
Mr. Chairman, normally the new, with the commencement of the new farming season, which is in October, that's when they review the prices. But I'm in no position to commit myself when it comes to the commencement of the new prices.
The previous government reviewed the producer price in between. After the opening of the cocoa season, the price was reviewed in between. So are you telling cocoa farmers that the new price will not be announced until the new season?
Mr. Chairman, in consultation with my boss, we'll be able to give the right answer at the appropriate time.
All right, Chairman, still on cocoa. There are a lot of discussions.
Now your second question.
Yeah, my second question, Chairman.
All right, thank you.
There are a lot of discussions about the involvement of the private sector in the external marketing of cocoa. What is your position on that?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, we have to be very innovative when it comes to the cocoa sector. And if that would improve our market share, if that will improve our export, if that will improve our whole cocoa industry, then that will be a very good suggestion. But like I always say, I would have to consult my boss, and we'll see the right solution for this problem. Thank you.
Chairman, my last question. I've gone through your manifesto, and it appears the manifesto is elaborate on crops, production of crops, and also to some extent on poultry production. But when it comes to ruminants, you know, it's very scanty. Does it mean that you are going to neglect the production of ruminants, because you know poultry, no, protein intake in Ghana is very low, you know, and the poultry industry has also suffered. So if the concentration is only on poultry, how sure are you that the intake of protein in Ghana, you know, can increase, you know? Because if you look at what the FAO recommends, we are far, far, far below. But your manifesto doesn't address the production of meat adequately. You know, what assurance can you give to Ghanaians when it comes to animal production?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One of the things we are going to do is to well equip our breeding centers, our livestock breeding centers. In the past, they haven't really been equipped, and what we are going to do is to really equip them. And an example is bringing in new breeding the livestock and letting it out into the particular district. And so we'll try as much as possible to decentralize the breeding centers so that more people can have access to the new breeds that are available for us to have multiple production going on.
I think I'm going to move on to Honorable Osei Kodjo. He's done, leader. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and also giving me the opportunity. Respectively, my name is Seth Osei Kodjo, not Henry. Seth Osei Kodjo, respectively. That's my name. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Honorable nominee, congratulations.
Thank you.
You have just indicated to us that along the line, your passion has driven you into certain areas, including agriculture. Now, I consider you as a practitioner in the agriculture sector. So far, can you tell us or share with us the 3 most difficult challenges you have faced as a practitioner in agriculture? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first challenge is access to credit. Access to credit for me to be able to expand. The second challenge is our land tenure system. Sometimes you go to certain places, you negotiate for the land, they give you the go-ahead. After a year or two, when they realize that everything is going on well, they'll tell you that they want their land back. And this problem is not just peculiar to me, but peculiar to other farmers. The third one is also lack of machinery. The rainy season is just about to start. What happens is that sometimes before you book a tractor, it can take you months before the tractor is able to come to your field to plow. And before that, the rainy season is over. And so sometimes these are the challenges that I face and other farmers face. And so in my whole life of being a farmer, these are some of the challenges I've faced. But the most important one is access to credit. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, follow up. The credit. When the minority leader was asking you some questions, he did mention about women's banking. Do you think with that you can be able to address some of the challenges in agriculture? Thank you.
Yes, please, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Second question.
Yes,
Mr.
please.
Chair. Recently, there's a publication at the World Bank's website that is indicating that there will be food insecurity in West and Central African countries, including Ghana. Leader has also made mention about food inflation. How do you marry the two to avert such calamity in Ghana? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Recently, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture launched the Irrigation for Wealth Creation, and that is to irrigate over 10,000 hectares of land. Now, what that means is that once we're able to irrigate with over 10,000 hectares of land, there's going to be more food. There's going to be food all year round. And so, yes, even though the World Bank has said that there might be some food shortages in the next coming years, we hope and pray that in the next coming years also we'll increase the acreage from 10,000 to possibly to 25 or 30,000 to be able to farm all year round and to affect such a problem, to avert such a problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, follow up. You made a mention about irrigation.
Hold on. You said a follow-up?
Yes.
I thought the last one was your follow-up.
A follow-up.
Okay, so this is your follow-up for the second question.
For the second question, please.
Okay, please go ahead.
You made mention about irrigation. As a practitioner, have you done some calculations to know how much to put land under irrigation, even for 1 hectare or 2 hectares? So how do you bring 10,000 hectares under irrigation in the short term? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, when it comes to irrigation, there are so many factors that come into play. The type of the land, the type of the water, and the type of the soil. But most especially the type of land. And so, yes, there's been some form of calculation that has gone on. But the main aim or our primary concern right now is to be able to get water onto the land for us to be able to feed our plans. And that is the main aim. It might cost us, but at the long run, if you just pose that to hunger, I think it's definitely worth it.
Thank you, Honorable Nominee. My last question. As a country, there's influx of food imported into the country. How would you support the Honorable Minister to be able to bring incidence of food into our economy? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I may give an example like tomatoes, we do import a lot of tomatoes from our neighboring countries. And so what we realize is that normally during the dry season, that is when we import more tomatoes than usual. And so with the implementation of this irrigation scheme, we'll be able to farm all year round and reduce the importation. That's one. The second one is when you look at the Nkukon Kitinkiti project, we are trying as much as possible to make Ghanaians eat what we grow in Ghana and make it affordable. And hopefully that will decrease the food import bill. Thank you so much.
Mr. Chair, I'm done. Thank you very much. And then I wish Honorable Nominee the best of luck. Thank you.
Thank you.
Very much. I will now move to...
Well, those were excerpts from the vetting of the Deputy Minister Designates for Agriculture, John Matthew Seto Dumelo. A new revelation.
Forgot Kofi.
A lot of names there. But anyway, let's do some other stories this evening because government says it will soon reassess taxes, duties and levies at the nation's ports to foster a more business-friendly environment and enhance their appeal as a key hub for trade within the West African sub-region. Transport Minister Joseph Bukari Nikwe revealed this during a working visit to Ghana Shippers Authority. He also stated that the government intends to revise existing maritime regulations to streamline processes and minimize bureaucratic hurdles in port operations.
You are aware that His Excellency the President, during the 2024 electioneering campaign, made a promise of reducing cost of doing business in our ports, and that we are going to come by a revision of our governing laws, the duties, the taxes, and the levies. So we feel that that is an area when we put in place, it will be able to get them to the decision of leaving, especially the fact that there were other government bureaucracies, government agencies having a lot of conflicting rules in the port.
Meanwhile, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Professor Ransford Jampo, says the authority has begun processes of preparing an effective legislative instrument to fully operationalize the latest Shippers Authorities Act.
We have a law that empowers us to do all we can to regulate, to protect shippers' interests and to regulate all commercial activities within the arena of shipping. In so doing, yes, we'll protect the interests of shipping lines, but we'll protect the interests of all shippers, we'll protect the interests of Ghanaians, and we'll work hard to project and to protect international trade. At the moment, we are preparing our LI that will give more, that would operationalize the implementation of our act, and we would implement the act in such that it protects the interests of all and protects the interests of Ghanaians.
Now, at just 5 years old, Priscilla Nonchele has already endured more than most people face in a lifetime. Diagnosed with leprosy at the age of 2, she underwent 5 surgeries to combat the disease. Today, Priscilla is healed, but her battle is far from over. GH1 News' Awisi Dede Jange tells a story of a young girl battling stigma of what is non-existent in her life. There are more details in this report.
I want to be a teacher.
You want to be a teacher? Okay. Why do you want to be a teacher? Do you know why you want to be a teacher?
Yes.
Why do you want to be a teacher?
I want to go to school.
I brought the girl up beside me and I said, this girl is going to suffer. Not knowing that a week later, the suffering started. You know, it's not fair. It's discrimination. Discrimination. And I don't want that. This child is a child of God. She deserves to be taken care of.
Full of energy and dreams, Priscilla aspires to become a teacher. However, her dream is now in jeopardy after her school, Faith Montessori in Bawe in the Greater Accra region, dismissed her upon discovering her medical history.
Through the help of Dr. Baumia, she was flown to Italy, where they immediately treated the infection that she had. And she started the school in January. We were told to, make her stay home because the school suddenly wanted more information. Later when we went, they said they found, because they looked at her fingers, they suspected that she had leprosy. And that's the reason why they asked her to stay home. We even went to the extent of saying, okay, we are waiting for the prosthetic leg to come back. Once it comes back, she won't have to use the crutches and hurt herself. Therefore, can we all agree that come September, we will bring her back, hopefully with her palm completely healed, and then she can start. The school still said no.
Born into a poor family in Dafiama, a community in the Upper West region, 5-year-old Priscilla Nonchele's childhood has been marked by hardship. She has gone under the knife for 5 times after being diagnosed with leprosy at age 2. Her caretaker, Barbara Humphrey, recounted the challenges the young girl has faced.
We found Priscilla in Wa. We got information she had contracted leprosy. Her mother had abandoned her. The family, not knowing what she was going through, said she was not human and they were going to kill her. So someone alerted Father Campbell and we sent for Priscilla to be brought down to Accra. Immediately started the treatment to get cured of leprosy. As a result, she went through 4 surgeries, amputations in Ghana. Then she underwent another surgery and amputation, the 5th one, which was very successful. The wound healed completely, and she was given a prosthetic leg.
After months of recovery, Priscilla was finally ready to start school. She was enrolled at Faith Montessori, but her time there was short-lived. Just 2 weeks into her education, the school dismissed her. Priscilla's foster father, Reverend Father Campbell, visibly heartbroken, expressed his frustration over the unfair treatment of little Priscilla.
We want the best for her and for everybody here, that everybody has a right. Every child has a right to education. And this child has a right to education, and they've no reason to say, that they haven't got the facilities to take care of a child with blisters and to say that she spits out her food. She's a child. Please help us to look after her in school. If she's spitting out, we never saw that. That's what they said. She spits out food. We haven't seen that. We haven't seen her take off the bandage. And it's just a blister. It's not a sore.
Despite medical confirmation that leprosy is curable and poses no health risk once treated, misconceptions about the disease continue to plague survivors. Dr. Benedict Kwao, Programs Manager for Leprosy at the Ghana Health Service, confirmed that once Priscilla is fully healed, she poses no danger to others.
We think world over that the major way it is transmitted is through droplets. So tiny droplets are let out of someone who's not on treatment, who has leprosy, and they can come out by coughing, sneezing, shouting, pretty much the same way COVID-19 was being transmitted, droplet transmission. And then someone who is susceptible to it breathes it in, and then it gets internalized in their system, and then the infection can set in. So she wasn't amputated because of leprosy organisms. Even the doctors who managed her wanted to be extra sure. So they took some parts of the stump. We sent it to Ghana Standards Board. No leprosy. So she doesn't harbor any leprosy organisms in her. She's completely cured from leprosy. What she has now are the complications of the nerve damage, which can occur with diabetes, which can occur with anything that may affect nerves, and circulation. Now, somehow, because those things are there, she may wrongly be labeled as someone who has leprosy.
This raises the question, why did Faith Montessori refuse to allow Priscilla back into the school? I'm currently here at Faith Montessori School here at Bowie concerning Priscilla's issue. I wanted to find out from the owners of the school what your side of the story is. I spoke to the administrator who categorically stated that she wasn't going to speak to me on camera and she was going to refer me to her boss, who I sat and waited for. Eventually, he asked me to leave my details with the reception and then he'll get back to me. But clearly, they do not want to speak to me. Stakeholders suspect discrimination is at the heart of the matter. Dr. Kwao warns that such stigma discourages early reporting of leprosy cases, which is critical for effective treatment and prevention.
So one of our strategies is to try and find people early. And even when we find people early, try and prevent the disability. Because it is that would label the person, you know. And that's why people would then start forming those negative impressions and attributing negative characteristics to that individual, which is stigma. Child Rights International, an NGO committed to the promotion and protection of the inherent dignity of every child, wants policy reforms to protect children like Priscilla from discrimination based on their medical history.
Already, they need socialization from other children. So if we exclude them, to say that we want to give them a special attention where they can also be integrated because of their mild conditions and all that, it makes it a bit difficult. So for us, I think that policy direction is key to compel the school system to be able to do what is needed so that we don't see the school system discriminating against children with certain conditions that can be integrated within our school system.
As Priscilla waits for another chance to pursue her education, her case has become a rallying cry for advocates and health professionals. Her family wants Priscilla's story to serve as a wake-up call to end discrimination against leprosy survivors and other children facing similar challenges.
More education is needed to let people know she is not infectious. You can't get leprosy from her because she does not have leprosy, and you shouldn't be afraid of that. What I feel too, that once the media gets this story and they hear of this girl that's gone through she's gone through hell. This suffering, she'd say to me times, Father, pain, 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 pain. 5 operations.
For now, Priscilla's dream of becoming a teacher hangs in a balance. But with the support of those fighting for her rights, there is hope that she will one day return to the classroom. This time, without fear of rejection. For GH1 News, I am Awisi Dede Jange.
It's quite disturbing.
Very disturbing. Very disturbing. I mean, once she's healed, she should get equal access to education like every other student.
Exactly.
There shouldn't be the fear for, contaminating other kids in the classroom with leprosy. She doesn't have that anymore after undergoing all of these, surgeries.
And one thing I don't understand is the fact that, we've been told leprosy is curable.
It is.
So it's just like you having a headache, taking paracetamol, and you're better. I don't know why that should bring about any form of discrimination.
I think the school should just do better. The school authority should really do better. They cannot discriminate against a 5-year-old like this. It's really heartbreaking.
I agree. And
it's Grace Montessori. That's the name of the school in Wade-Agbawi.
No, it was stated
Faith Montessori, rather. At Wade-Agbawi. You should do better. And shame on you for discriminating against a child who wants to live a normal life. She had a fair chance at life again. You don't have to snatch that from her.
I agree.
By being discriminatory.
I agree.
Shame on you,
and congratulations to Awisi Dede Jange.
Of course, that's a very useful report.
Impactful journalism. And that's what we stand for here at Starr 103.5 FM,
and
GH1 Television,
EIB
Network. Professionalism and impactful journalism is our modus operandi. That's how we draw the curtains on Starr today here on Starr 103.5 FM. There's more news for you at starfm.com.gh. I am Joshua Kodjo Mensah, and I did this with...
Before I mention my name, it was nice to know that John Dumelo is called Matthew.
You will not let him be.
No, but I am Tutuwaa Danso. So thank you very much for doing the listening. This bulletin was produced by Eko Anan, Benjamin Saki, Prince Esian, Emmanuel Donko. Make sure the stream was possible on our social media platforms. Thank you very much. We are back tomorrow with more news updates. Have a good evening.
Good evening.